Have you ever wondered why Korean horror feels so different? It's not just about ghosts or monsters. It's about sorrow, revenge, and the things we leave behind. In every whisper of wind, in every dark hallway, something watches. Tonight, we read diving deep into the shadows of Korea's most terrifying tales, the spirits that haunt its villages, its mountains, and sometimes its people. These are the top 10 Korean horror stories and urban legends, so turn off the lights and don't watch this alone. Number 10. The Virgin Bridge, Cheonyeo. This legend warns of bridges built from sacrifice. In ancient Korea, a sinister belief took hold among desperate villagers. They whispered that for a bridge to withstand the ravages of time and nature, it needed a powerful spiritual anchor. A bridge, they believed, would only stand if a virgin's spirit blessed it. This blessing, however, was not given freely. It was stolen, sealed into the foundation by burying a young woman alive beneath its very stones. Imagine the scene from centuries past. A small, remote village plagued by a raging river that floods with every heavy rain, isolating them, destroying their crops, and threatening their lives. They've tried to build a bridge before, using wood and simple stone, but each time the furious currents have torn it apart. The village elders, their faces etched with desperation, consult a shaman. The answer they receive is chilling. The river spirit demands a sacrifice, not just any life, but one of ultimate purity. A young maiden, untouched by the world, must become the bridge's guardian spirit. The selection would have been a terrifying ordeal. Perhaps it was a lottery, a cruel twist of fate where paper slips held the name of the condemned. Or maybe it was an orphan, a girl with no family to protect her or mourn her loss, who was chosen as the most convenient offering. The village would gather, their faces a mixture of sorrow and grim determination. They would lead the girl to the construction site, to a deep pit, dug where the central pillar of the bridge would stand. Her pleas and cries for mercy would be ignored, drowned out by the chanting of monks or the solemn prayers of the villagers, who convinced themselves this atrocity was for the greater good. They would place her in the pit, perhaps bound, perhaps simply trapped, and then the work would begin. The first heavy foundation stone would be lowered into place, sealing her fate, then another and another. The sounds of her terror would slowly be silenced by the crushing weight of rock and earth. The villagers would work tirelessly, their guilt buried under the frantic pace of construction until the pillar was complete. The bridge would rise from this unholy ground, a marvel of engineering built upon a foundation of stolen innocence. And as the villagers predicted, the bridge would stand firm. It would resist the floods, connect their village to the world, and bring them the prosperity they craved. But it came at a price that could never truly be repaid. Even now, centuries later, the legacy of this horrific practice lingers. The bridges built on such sacrifices are known as Cheonyeo, the Virgin Bridges. Locals will tell you that the spirit of the sacrificed girl is not at peace. She is trapped, eternally bound to the structure that became her tomb. say that on stormy nights, when the wind howls and the rain lashes against the cold stone, you can hear her, faintly at first, then growing louder. The sound of inconsolable sobbing echoes from beneath the bridge, a heart-wrenching lament for a life cut short. Some travelers have even reported seeing a spectral figure of a young woman in white, wandering aimlessly across the bridge, her face a mask of sorrow, forever searching for the life she never got to live. They call it Cheonyeo, the Virgin Bridge, a monument to restless souls. Would you cross that bridge at midnight? Number 9. The Haunted School. Abandoned school. In many Korean towns, there's always one abandoned school. A place locals avoid, a building that stands as a silent monument to forgotten memories and whispered fears. They say it was shut down because of a series of tragic suicides. Or maybe it was a string of strange, unexplainable accidents that finally forced the doors to close for good. The official records are sealed, but the stories live on. Students from nearby schools trade tales in hushed tones, each one adding a new layer to the legend. They whisper that after the clock strikes midnight, the true life of the school begins. The classroom lights on the 3rd floor, where the most tragic events supposedly took place, flicker on and off in a chaotic rhythm, illuminating the empty, dust-covered desks. On a quiet night, if you stand near the rusted gate, you might hear the faint laughter of children echoing down the main hall. A sound that chills you to the bone because it sounds both joyful and utterly wrong. The most common tale involves the music room. Decades ago, a gifted piano student, driven to despair by immense pressure, is said to have taken her own life there. Now, her spirit remains, forever bound to the old, out-of-tune grand piano. Locals claim that on moonless nights, a sorrowful melody drifts from the room's shattered windows. It's a piece no one recognizes, a composition of pure grief that seems to weep for a future that was stolen away. Some say her ghost can be seen, a pale figure with long dark hair, her fingers gliding over the keys, though they make no sound you can hear up close. Then there are the stories of the school's basement. It was once a storage area, but during the Korean War, it was rumored to have been used as a temporary morgue. The air down there is said to be unnaturally cold, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic and sweet. People who have dared to venture down the crumbling concrete steps speak of disembodied whispers that seem to come from the walls themselves, a chorus of faint, pleading voices. Shadows dart in the corners of your vision, and the feeling of being watched by countless unseen eyes is so overwhelming that most flee before ever reaching the bottom. Of course, with such stories come the tests of courage. Every year, groups of teenagers, fueled by bravado and skepticism, decide to test the legends for themselves. They climb the fences, armed with flashlights and phone cameras, hoping to capture proof of the paranormal. Most come back shaken, with stories of doors slamming shut behind them, objects being thrown across rooms by an unseen force, or seeing figures in the windows of classrooms they knew were empty. Their videos are often shaky and inconclusive, filled with panicked screams and distorted audio, but their terrified faces tell a story words cannot. But the darkest part of the legend is about those who went in to prove their bravery and never came out. The rumors are vague, lacking names or dates, which only makes them more terrifying. They say a group of 3 students went in one summer night and simply vanished. The police searched the grounds, but no trace was ever found. Locals believe the school itself consumed them, angry spirits dragging them into the shadows, making them a permanent part of its haunting. They say if you listen closely enough, you can sometimes hear new voices among the whispers in the hall, forever calling out for help. The building now stands derelict, its windows like hollow eyes staring out over the town. The paint is peeling, the grounds are overgrown, and a rusty chain holds the main gate shut. But it's not just a physical barrier, it's a warning. A warning that some places are better left alone, that some doors should never be opened, and that the echoes of the past can be far more dangerous than any living threat. The spirits within are said to be waiting, forever trapped between the lessons of the past and the silence of the present, eager for new company. Would you dare spend one night inside? Number 8. The Fox Spirit, Gumiho. Have you ever met someone too beautiful to be real? So captivating, so alluring, that it feels like a dream. In Korean legend, that dream might be your worst nightmare. You might be looking into the eyes of a Gumiho, mythical 9-tailed fox, a creature of immense power and cunning that has haunted the peninsula's folklore for over 1,000 years. The Gumiho is not your average woodland creature. It is an ancient spirit, a fox that has lived for a millennium to grow its 9 tails, each one a vessel of dark magic and accumulated wisdom. With this power, it can shapeshift, weaving illusions to ensnare the senses. Its preferred form, a woman of breathtaking beauty, an image of perfection designed for one sinister purpose, to hunt. Imagine walking alone on a moonlit path, the air still and cold. You hear a faint, sorrowful cry. Through the trees, you see a figure, a woman lost and vulnerable. Her eyes meet yours, and in that instant, you are trapped. She speaks with a voice like honey, her story a tragedy that pulls at your heartstrings. She is lost, abandoned, needing only a kind soul to guide her. But as you draw closer, the sweet scent of her perfume carries an underlying metallic tint, the scent of blood. The warmth of her touch is a lie, a cold fire that promises only oblivion. Early legends paint the Gumiho as an unequivocally malevolent being. It is a predator, a monster that stalks human settlements under the cloak of darkness. It uses its irresistible charm to lure unsuspecting men away from the safety of their homes, leading them deep into the forest or to a secluded den. There, in the terrifying silence, its true form is revealed. The beautiful face contorts, the illusion shatters, and the 9 ethereal tails lash out in the moonlight. The Gumiho then consummates its hunt, ripping out its victim's heart or liver to devour it, absorbing their life force to sustain its own unnatural existence. It is a creature of pure, primal hunger. But folklore, like a living thing, evolves. In more modern tales, the Gumiho's motives have become more complex, more tragically human. Some stories whisper that the Gumiho does not wish to remain a monster. It yearns to shed its fox-like nature and become fully human. This transformation, however, comes at a terrible price. Depending on the legend, the Gumiho must abstain from killing or eating human flesh for 1,000 days. In other versions, it must steal the life energy from 100 men, often by consuming their hearts. Perhaps the most poignant version of this quest involves love. A Gumiho might fall for a human man, and if that man keeps her true identity a secret for a set period, she can become human. This narrative transforms the Gumiho from a simple monster into a tragic figure, caught between its predatory instincts and a desperate desire for a soul. She must win a man's love while resisting the innate urge to kill him. It's a dangerous gamble where one moment of weakness, one slip of the mask, can lead back to a lonely, cursed eternity. The truth, a fox's heart never changes. It is, and always will be, wild. So, the next time you feel an inexplicable pull towards a stranger, a connection that feels too perfect, ask yourself what lies beneath their enchanting smile. Is it a soulmate you've found, or a predator that has found you? Look closely into their eyes. You might just see the ancient, hungry spirit of the fox looking back. Would you fall for a Gumiho's charm, knowing it could kill you? Number 7. The Ttokkaebi, Goblin Spirit. Not all monsters in Korean folklore are evil. The Ttokkaebi, or Goblin Spirit, is mischievous and powerful, often punishing the greedy and rewarding the kind. But anger one, and it will haunt your nights with illusions and fire. Some say they dance in the mountains with flaming clubs, laughing as mortals lose their way. Imagine walking alone on a moonless night, the path ahead swallowed by an impenetrable darkness. A sudden chill crawls up your spine, not from the cold, but from the unnerving sensation of being watched. You hear a sound, a low, guttural chuckle that seems to come from everywhere at once. You turn, but there is nothing. The sound grows louder, echoing through the trees, morphing into a chaotic symphony of whispers and taunts. This is the domain of the Dokkaebi, a trickster spirit born not from a soul, but from an old, discarded object stained with human blood. A worn-out broom, a forgotten hoe. A blood-soaked rag, these humble items fester in solitude, gathering resentment until they spring to life, imbued with a capricious and often terrifying power. The Dokkaebi are not demons in the traditional sense. They don't seek to drag your soul to a fiery underworld. Their motives are far more personal, more intimate. They crave interaction with mortals, a game of wits and will. They might appear as a towering, hairy figure with a single, massive leg, challenging you to a Syrium wrestling match in the middle of a desolate field. Except, and you might wrestle for an eternity, your strength draining away with each passing moment. The trick, they say, is to push on their left side, their single leg's only weakness. But in the panic of the moment, with the monstrous creature's breath hot on your face, would you even remember? Their illusions are their cruelest weapon. A Dokkaebi can conjure a grand feast in the middle of a haunted forest, the food looking more delicious than anything you've ever seen. But bite into the succulent meat, and you'll find your mouth full of dirt and writhing worms. They can create a warm, inviting cottage on a stormy night, luring you inside with the promise of shelter. You fall asleep by the crackling fire, only to wake up shivering in a muddy ditch, the cottage and its warmth having vanished like a dream. They twist your perception, making you question your own sanity, turning the familiar world into a landscape of shifting nightmares. They don't just want to scare you, they want to break your mind. One of their most dreaded forms is the asterisk Jim Seobang Ttokkaebi asterisk A. A Mr. Kim Goblin who appears as a simple farmer only to lead unsuspecting travelers off cliffs with a friendly wave and a misleading word. Another is the Dokkaebi, a beautiful maiden who seduces men, promising love and comfort before revealing her true, monstrous nature in a moment of sheer, heart-stopping terror. They are masters of disguise, hiding their grotesque forms behind a mask of normalcy. The friendly stranger you meet on the road, the alluring woman who smiles at you from across the room, they could be anything but human. But it is their fire that truly signifies their presence. The asterisk Dokkaebi, bull, asterisk, or goblin fire, is a ball of ethereal blue or red flame that dances erratically in the distance, leading you deeper and deeper into the wilderness. It promises light and hope, a beacon in the darkness. But follow it, and you will find yourself lost, walking in circles until you collapse from exhaustion. Your desperate cries swallowed by the indifferent woods. They watch from the shadows, their eyes gleaming with amusement, their silent laughter the only answer to your pleas. They are a test of character, a supernatural force that strips away all pretense, revealing the true nature of your heart, your greed, your kindness, your courage, or your fear. Would you bow to a Dokkaebi or challenge it? Number 6. The Bathroom Ghost. Have you ever felt uneasy in an empty restroom? That cold prickle on the back of your neck when you're sure you're alone, but the silence feels watchful. In Korea, this feeling has a name, and it's a warning. The bathroom ghost, or Wajangsil, Gwisin, is said to dwell in the darkest, most secluded corners of public restrooms, often waiting patiently in the very last stall for the alone and unwary. The legend takes many forms, passed down through whispers in school hallways and late-night sleepovers. But the most common and most chilling version begins after you've locked the door. As you sit in the quiet solitude, a disembodied voice will whisper from the next stall, or perhaps from the pipes below. It asks a simple, yet terrifying question. Do you want red paper or blue paper? This is no ordinary choice. Your life hangs in the balance, and a wrong answer spells a gruesome end. If you choose red paper, the store door will burst open, and the ghost will appear. Some say it as the spirit of a young girl who met a tragic end in that very bathroom. She slashed you with a knife, leaving you to bleed out on the cold tile floor, your body covered in a horrifying crimson stain, just like the paper you requested. If you foolishly ask for blue paper, your fate is just as grim, though far more insidious. The ghost will materialize and slowly, silently drain every last drop of blood from your body. You'll be left pale and lifeless, your skin turning a deathly shade of blue, a ghastly mirror to your fatal choice. Some versions of the tale say she will suffocate you, your face turning blue as you gasp for your last breath. Either way, the result is the same. So, how do you survive this impossible choice? The legends offer a few potential escapes. The only way to truly win is to refuse the game entirely. You must ignore the question, or simply say you don't need any paper. Another popular escape is to ask for a third color, like yellow paper. This is said to confuse the spirit, giving you just enough time to flee. But you must be quick. Run before the lights begin to flicker, before the handle on your stall door begins to rattle, and before the whisper turns into a scream. What color would you choose? If a voice whispered from the next stall. Number 5. The Ghost Baby. The silence of the Korean countryside at night is a deceptive thing. It seems peaceful, a stark contrast to the bustling cities. But listen closely, past the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant chirp of crickets. Sometimes another sound pierces the darkness, the thin, desperate wail of an infant. This is why Koreans used to avoid walking alone near rivers, desolate bridges, or lonely mountain paths at night. They feared an encounter with the Ttokkaebi Aegi, the ghost baby. Imagine you're making your way home after a long day. The moon is a sliver in the inky sky, offering little comfort. As you cross a small stone bridge over a trickling stream, you hear it, a baby cry. It's a sound that cuts right through you, instinctively pulling at your heartstrings. Your first thought isn't of monsters or ghosts. It's of a poor, abandoned child left to fend for itself in the cold and the dark. You follow the sound, your footsteps quickening with a sense of urgency. There, huddled in the reeds by the water's edge, is a small, swaddled infant. It looks up at you with wide, tear-filled eyes. What do you do? The only humane choice seems to be to help. You gently scoop the child into your arms. It feels light, almost unnerving. You wrap it tighter, whispering reassurances as you begin the walk back towards the village, determined to find its parents or get it somewhere safe. But as you walk, a strange thing happens. The baby, who should feel like a small bundle, begins to feel heavier. At first, you dismiss it. Maybe your arms are just getting tired. You shift its weight, trying to get a better grip, but the weight continues to grow. It's a slow, creeping, unnatural heaviness. Soon, the child feels like a sack of rice, then a boulder. Your arms ache, your shoulders scream in protest, and your back feels like it's about to snap. You tried to put the baby down, but you can't. Its grip, once feeble, is now impossibly strong. Its cries, once pitiful, have twisted into a low, guttural chuckle that seems to echo from deep within its chest. You look down, and the face staring back at you is no longer that of an innocent child. Its features are warped, its eyes glowing with a malevolent, ancient light. This is not a baby. This is a Ttokkaebi in disguise, a mischievous, often cruel creature from Korean folklore. The weight becomes unbearable. It presses down on you, crushing you, forcing you to your knees. Your breath comes in ragged gasps as the immense pressure robs the air from your lungs. The creature's laughter now fills your ears, a mocking, triumphant sound that drowns out your own panicked thoughts. You collapse onto the cold, damp earth, the crushing force pinning you to the ground. The last thing you feel is the life force, the very warmth of your body being slowly and methodically drained away. When the sun rises, casting its morning light over the serene landscape, all that remains of the kind-hearted traveler is a lifeless husk, a cold, empty shell found by the riverbed, its face frozen in a rictus of terror. The Ttokkaebi Aegi is gone, having consumed the life it so cleverly tricked you into offering. It waits again for the sun to set, for another unsuspecting soul to walk the lonely path, ready to play its cruel game once more. The story served as a grim warning. Sometimes the most compassionate act can lead to your own demise. Your kindness becomes the very weapon used against you. So, let me ask you again. If you heard a baby crying in the dark, would you help it? Number 4. The Red Mask, the Slit-Mouthed Woman, Korean version in Japan. She's Kuchisekana, but Korea has her own version, a version some say is even more terrifying. The story has been whispered down through generations, a cautionary tale told to keep children from wandering the streets alone after dark. It begins, as so many good horror stories do, on a quiet, fog-shrouded street where the only sounds are your own footsteps and the frantic beating of your own heart. Suddenly, you sense a presence. A figure emerges from the mist, a woman whose features are obscured by a stark, crimson-red surgical mask. She blocks your path, her eyes locking onto yours with an intensity that chills you to the bone. They say her eyes are the only part of her face you can truly see, and they hold an ancient, unbearable sadness. She leans in, her voice a low whisper that cuts through the silence, and she asks a simple, terrifying question. Am I pretty? Your mind races. This is the moment of truth, the crossroads of life and death. The legends have warned you about this. Every instinct screams at you to run, but your feet are rooted to the spot, paralyzed by a fear so profound it feels physical. What do you say? The stories offer a few grim possibilities. If you answer no, her rage is instantaneous and absolute. She reveals a pair of scissors, gleaming under the dim streetlight, and you won't live long enough to regret your honesty. She will end you right there on the cold pavement. The legend is quite clear on this point. There is no escape from her fury if you insult her. It's a brutal, swift end, a punishment for your perceived slight. So, the obvious answer is yes, right. Try to force the word out, a tremor in your voice. Yes, you stammer, you're very pretty. A moment of relief washes over you, but it's fleeting, a cruel trick. She seems pleased, maybe even lets out a small, muffled laugh, but then she reaches up with a slow, deliberate motion. Her fingers hook the edges of the red mask, the one that has held your terrified gaze. She pulls it down. What lies beneath is the stuff of nightmares. Her mouth has been slit from ear to ear, a grotesque, permanent grin carved into her flesh. The wound is raw, jagged, and seems to be weeping blood. The sight is so horrific it threatens to shatter your sanity. The cloying, metallic scent of old blood fills the air. Her unsettlingly sad eyes fix on you again, and she repeats the question, her voice now distorted and guttural, mangled by her horrific injury. Am I pretty? Asterisk. This is the true test. The second question for which there is no right answer. If you scream or say no, she will use her scissors to make your face a mirror of her own, a permanent, bloody smile. But if you manage to choke out another yes, she takes it as mockery. Enraged that you would lie so blatantly, she will follow you home and murder you in your own bed. The legend says no one has ever answered the second question and lived to tell the tale. It's a perfect, inescapable trap, a game where the only outcome is your demise. Over the years, people have desperately tried to find a loophole, a way to survive the encounter. Some say you should answer with a non-committal, confusing response like, "You're average" or "so-so." This might perplex her long enough for you to make a run for it. Another, more elaborate tale suggests you can throw candy or money at her feet. She'll supposedly be distracted, stooping to pick up the items, giving you precious seconds to flee. But these are just desperate whispers, glimmers of hope in a story defined by its hopelessness. Are you willing to bet your life on a rumor? The core of the legend remains. Meet the woman in the red mask, and your fate is sealed. She is not just a ghost. She is a question, a riddle with no answer, a curse that walks the lonely streets. What would you say if she asked you tonight? Number 3. The elevator ghost. Have you ever pressed the wrong floor on purpose? In Korea, there's a game, the elevator game, where you press a secret sequence of floors to enter another world. But those who try it often meet something else. A woman in red who steps inside at the 5th floor. If you speak to her or look at her face, you'll never make it back to the right floor again. The ritual itself is deceptively simple, which is perhaps why so many have been tempted to try it. It begins with you, alone, in an elevator, in a building at least 10 stories high. The journey starts on the 1st floor. You press the button for the 4th floor. When the doors open, you stay inside and press for the 2nd floor. Then the 6th, then back to the 2nd, then the 10th, and finally the 5th floor. If you've done everything correctly, this is where she will be waiting. When the doors slide open on the 5th floor, a woman will step inside. The legends are clear on this point. You must not look at her. You must not speak to her. She is not human, and acknowledging her is an invitation you can't take back. She might try to get your attention, asking you what floor you're going to, or perhaps what time it is. Her voice might sound normal, even friendly. Ignore her. Keep your eyes fixed on the floor or the control panel. Your survival depends on it. With the woman now inside, you press the button for the first floor. This is the moment of truth. If the elevator begins to descend, the ritual has failed. You must exit immediately, without looking back, and never attempt it again in that building. But if the elevator instead begins to ascend, moving past the 10th floor, then congratulations, you are on your way to the other world. The building's layout will fade away. The numbers will climb past anything that should be possible. 11, 12, 13. The only thing you will see through the door's window, if you dare to look, is a single, unblinking red cross glowing in the endless darkness outside. When the elevator finally stops and the doors open, you will have arrived. The world outside will look almost identical to your own, but with two unnerving differences. The power will be out, casting everything in an eerie twilight, and you will be completely alone. No people, no sounds, nothing but the faint, distant glow of that red cross in the sky. It is said that the spirits of the dead, invisible to the naked eye, are the only other inhabitants. They can't harm you, but they watch and they wait. Returning is the trickiest part. You must use the same elevator you arrived in, re-enter it, and press the exact same sequence of floors you used to get there. For 2, 6, 2, 10, 5. Once you reach the 5th floor, press the button for the first floor. As the elevator begins to descend, the ascent to the 10th floor should reverse. If all goes well, you will find yourself back on the first floor of your own world. But be warned, during the return trip, the woman may speak to you again. This is her last chance. She might plead or scream or ask you a simple question. Whatever you do not answer. Do not look at her. Stay silent until the doors open on the first floor and you can step back into your reality. But what happens if you fail? What if you look at her or speak? Some say you become trapped in that other world forever, a silent ghost in a silent land. Others tell a more terrifying tale. They say the woman will claim you, dragging you out of the elevator and into the eternal darkness. Your body might be found later in the original building, but your soul will belong to her. And sometimes the ritual simply goes wrong. The elevator might stop between floors, or the sequence might be interrupted. In those moments, you are no longer in your world or the other. You are somewhere in between, lost in a mechanical limbo with a passenger who is not what she seems. Would you dare play the elevator game alone? Number 2. The Virgin Ghost, Cheonyeo, Gwisin. This is why old Korean schools avoid mirrors at night. It's why you never leave an empty chair at the dinner table. And it's why a lone woman S cry in the dark is a sound you should never follow. The Cheonyeo Gwisin, or virgin ghost, appears in white mourning clothes, her face pale, her hair long and black. They say she appears in places filled with loneliness bathrooms, stairwells, or classrooms after dark, crying softly for the life she never had. The Cheonyeo Gwisin is one of the most famous and feared spirits in Korean folklore. Her story is born from a deep-seated cultural sorrow. In traditional Korea, a woman's life was considered incomplete if she died unmarried and childless. Her purpose, as defined by the society of the time, was left unfulfilled. She could not join her ancestors in the afterlife as she had no family line of her own to honor her. This tragic fate traps her spirit between worlds, bound to the earthly realm by a powerful, lingering resentment known as Han*. This profound sense of unresolved grief, injustice, and regret fuels her existence as a ghost. Her presence is most often felt in abandoned buildings, dark alleyways, and especially schools. Why schools? Because these are places she would have frequented in life, places filled with the youthful energy and promise she was denied. She wanders the empty hallways after the final bell has rung. Her long white sobak, the traditional mourning garment she wears trailing silently behind her. Her hair, which was meant to be pinned up in a married woman's style, hangs loose and disheveled, covering a face contorted by sorrow and bitterness. Witnesses claim to hear her weeping, a sound that chills the very soul, echoing from a locked restroom stall or an empty art room. But sorrow is not her only attribute. The Cheonyeo Gwisin is also a creature of immense jealousy and rage. She observes the living with a bitter envy, particularly young couples and happy women. Her unfulfilled desires for love, marriage, and a family fester into a malevolent force. This is where her story turns from tragic to terrifying. It is believed that her spirit can attach itself to the living, bringing misfortune, illness, and despair. A young woman who suddenly falls ill without cause, or a happy couple that begins to fight inexplicably, might be under the influence of a vengeful Cheonyeo Gwisin. She is a master of psychological torment. She doesn't always resort to physical violence. Her power lies in suggestion and fear. You might catch a fleeting glimpse of a pale face in a reflective surface, only for it to vanish when you look again. A door might creak open on its own, revealing an empty, dark corridor. The temperature in a room might suddenly plummet, your breath turning to mist in the air. These are her calling cards, designed to unnerve and isolate her victims, feeding on their growing terror. She wants you to feel the same profound loneliness that defines her eternal existence. There are rituals to appease her, but they are often desperate and unreliable. Some families may arrange a ghost marriage, wedding their deceased daughter's spirit to a deceased bachelor's, hoping to grant them in the afterlife what they were denied in life. Shrines might be erected in her honor with offerings of food, drink, and cosmetic simple pleasures she never enjoyed. But appeasing a spirit consumed by such deep-seated resentment is a dangerous gamble. One wrong move disrespect, and her sorrow can quickly curdle into a wrath that knows no bounds. Some believe her spirit can possess the living to finish what death denied her, forcing a living body to experience the love and life she craves, often with catastrophic consequences for the host. So, the next time you find yourself alone in a quiet, lonely place, and you see the flicker of a white dress from the corner of your eye, or hear the faint sound of a woman crying, remember her story. Remember the life unlived and the love unfulfilled. She is not just a monster. She is a monument to sorrow, a warning whispered on the wind. Would you meet her gaze in the mirror, or shut your eyes and run? Number 1. The Gwisin, the Korean ghost. Have you ever felt a chill in an empty hallway? In Korea, people say that's the touch of a Gwisin, restless spirit bound by unfinished business. Dressed in flowing white funeral clothes, their hair covers their faces as they glide silently through hospitals, schools, and old homes. The most feared are Cheonyeo Gwisin, ghosts of women who died unmarried, forever longing for love or revenge. In the quiet corners of Korean life, where shadows stretch and silence deepens, the world of the living and the dead often overlap. Gwisin are not just characters in scary stories. They are a deeply embedded part of the cultural psyche, a manifestation of fears, sorrows, and unresolved conflicts. These are souls who cannot cross over to the afterlife, tethered to our world by a powerful emotion or a task left undone. This could be a thirst for vengeance against a murderer, a deep regret over a life cut short, or a lingering love for a family left behind. Their presence is a constant reminder that the past is never truly gone. The appearance of a Gwisin is iconic and terrifying. They are most often depicted as women, draped in a white sobak asterisk, the traditional mourning attire of ancient Korea. Their faces are obscured by a curtain of long black hair, a feature that adds to their unsettling mystery. What lies behind the hair? A face contorted by agony, a featureless void. The uncertainty is often more frightening than any monster. They move without a sound, floating just above the ground, their feet never touching the earth. Their presence is often heralded by a sudden drop in temperature. A faint whisper on the wind, or the flickering of light, subtle signs that you are no longer alone. Not all Gwisin are the same. Their nature is defined by the life they lived and the death they suffered. Among the most tragic and feared are the Cheonyeo Gwisin, the spirits of virgin women who died before they could marry. In traditional Korean society, a woman's life was considered incomplete without marriage and children. Dying as a Cheonyeo meant a life unfulfilled, leading to immense sorrow and resentment, known as *Han*. This profound feeling of regret and bitterness fuels their ghostly existence, making them powerful and often malicious. They haunt their former homes or wander places frequented by young couples, their spectral hearts filled with envy and a desperate longing for what they were denied. Another formidable spirit is the Gwisin, or water ghost. These are the souls of those who have drowned, forever bound to the body of water where they met their end. They are lonely, miserable entities, and their primary desire is to pull others down into the murky depths to join them. Korean folklore often warns against swimming alone at night for the cold. Desperate hands of a Gwisin might be waiting just below the surface. They embody the "if I can't have it, neither can you" mentality. A chilling expression of a spirit consumed by its own tragic fate. Their grip is said to be relentless, a watery embrace from which there is no escape. The influence of Gwisin permeates Korean culture, from ancient shamanistic rituals meant to appease them to their prominent role in modern horror films and dramas. Movies like A Tale of Two Sisters or The Wailing draw heavily on these traditional beliefs, bringing the terrifying specters of Korean folklore to a global audience. These stories serve as more than just entertainment. They are cautionary tales about justice, the importance of honoring the dead, and the enduring power of human emotion. They teach that unresolved anger and sorrow can fester, creating monsters that haunt not just old houses, but the very conscience of a society. The Gwisin are a mirror reflecting the deepest anxieties of the human condition, a spectral echo of lives lived and lost. Would you turn around if you felt a cold hand on your shoulder and no one was there? So, tell me, which of these shadows will follow you home tonight? In the world of urban legends, these aren't just stories told around a campfire. They are whispers, carried on the wind, echoes of fear from a neighbor's house, a forgotten road, or that one dark corner of your own hometown you've always been afraid to look at too closely. They are reflections of our own modern anxieties, our distrust of the familiar, and the terrifying idea that the monster isn't in a faraway castle, but hiding just behind a stranger's smile. Or perhaps even our own reflection, from the chilling tale of the killer in the back seat, a warning against trusting the open road, to the cursed videotape that promises death in 7 days. A modern ghost story delivered through our own screens. We explored the Slender Man, a phantom born from the internet, a digital ghost that haunted a generation. We even listened for the phantom calls coming from inside the house, a story that turned the sanctuary of our homes into a trap. Each story serves as a stark and chilling reminder, a reminder that the mundane can become menacing in a heartbeat. The friendly wave from a passing car, the static on a television screen, a flicker of movement in a photograph, they all have the potential to become the beginning of a nightmare. These tales are not ancient myths carved in stone. They are alive, evolving with every retelling, adapting to our fears, and spreading like a virus through the collective consciousness of our digital age. They are the folklore of the now, and their power lies in their terrifying plausibility. Maybe that's why these legends refuse to die. They linger in our minds, not because they are ancient spirits bound by sorrow, but because we give them life. We keep them alive with every nervous glance into the rearview mirror. Every time we hesitate to answer an unknown number. Every whisper of "have you heard the one about?" We are the architects of our own fears, and these stories are the blueprints. They are warnings, to be sure, but they are also a form of connection, a shared shiver that unites us in the dark. We tell them not just to scare, but to remind ourselves that we are not alone in our anxieties. If you enjoyed this journey into our darkest modern tales, if you felt that familiar, creeping dread settle in your bones, don't forget there are legends like these breathing in every corner of the world. Each culture has its own unique boogeyman, its own cautionary tales whispered to keep children in line and adults looking over their shoulders. From the restless spirits of Japan's most haunted locations, whose grudges are as fresh as yesterday's news, to the skinwalkers of Native American lore, shape-shifting horrors that stalk the lonely plains of the American Southwest, and the terrifying, blood-chilling creatures that lurk in the deep, uncharted forests of Eastern Europe, waiting for a lone traveler to stray from the path. Every city has its ghost, every town its dark secret. Subscribe if you dare. Turn on the notifications if you're brave enough to be reminded of the darkness that waits. And I'll see you in the next story. If you can convince yourself that the noise you just heard was only the house settling, sleep well if you still can.